Welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. This video is about the wonders that President Ibrahim Traore has done in the military, the changes, the great things that he has done, testimony of the ministers, the captains, the generals, what he has done. They want to tell us what is going on in the yard of the military, the VDPs, everything in about 30 minutes video. It is long, so families, have done my best. I've worked on it. Enjoy it and leave a comment. God bless you all. If this is your first time, my name is Mami and you are very welcome. I'll be back, families.
And this had a negative impact on the strongest members of national life, the people. The army was helpless. It was not in a position, at least from a logistical point of view. And to deal with terrorist incursions, the few aircraft that were there were essentially used as a means of connection. Here it is, and therefore a means of medical evacuation in an emergency. We barely had enough to equip even the guard posts in units across the country, and management was dominated by ammunition. Many unit personnel were not individually equipped with armaments, and some barely knew what weapons were in unit issue, so infantry and Burkina Faso's national armed forces lack sufficient ammunition for training, and have historically been under-equipped, poorly structured, and unmotivated. Naturally, they were not very effective in the face of the onslaught of armed terrorist groups who, in 2015, carried out the first terrorist attacks in our country. In this new kind of war, many civilians lost their lives, and the national armed forces paid a heavy price, with many victims falling on the field of honor for their country. This unacceptable situation sparked a revolt by young officers under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim TRAORE, who was determined to give the Burkinabe army back all the means it needed to contain the terrorist threat and attack the enemy to liberate the country. The President of Faso, Supreme Commander of the National Armed Forces, will now give new impetus to the reorganization and reinforcement of the fighting forces' operational capabilities. The most important reforms to note consisted first of all in reviewing the territorial grid. Our territorial defense organization was centered on the military region. This was deemed insufficient, so we quickly carried out a reform, an organization. We went from 3 military regions to 6 military regions, 6 gendarmerie units and new bases. Aerial, among others. We created, organized and operationalized the brigade Quick Response Special, which was founded on the foundations of the Cobra units. In less than 2 years, this brigade has grown to 25 rapid response boats plus self-propelled components. Highly operational, the spearhead of our current offensive against the terrorist army group. At the same time, the government adopted a strategic plan to equip the national armed forces. This strategic plan, the fruit of the will of the head of state, will pave the way for an unprecedented strengthening of the operational capabilities of the national armed forces, particularly in terms of human resources and logistics. In terms of tactics and combat techniques, none of the Army's entities remained on the recruiting trail. This reorganization was accompanied by an extensive recruitment and training program. This has enabled us to increase our employee count and to densify operations. In terms of equipment, the Army has benefited from major resources, high-tech equipment and weapon systems. The diversification of strategic partnerships with countries such as Russia, Turkey and China will accelerate the acquisition of major equipment for the armed forces. And as soon as he came to power, Captain Ibrahim TRAORE showed his determination to make up for lost time in equipping the Burkinabe army. In December 2022, just 3 months after taking office, the Army acquired armored vehicles. And this momentum is set to continue with the handover of a large consignment of military equipment comprising rolling stock, combat weapons and ammunition to the Ministry of Defense. In January 2024, I will officially hand over the keys to these tactical vehicles. Remember, we live in a world of predation. To have peace, you have to make war, so make war. Today's land weapon is more robust. And it's thriving. Today's leading army has nothing to envy or compare in terms of capacity with the army we once knew, not only in terms of territorial coverage, but also in terms of manpower. In April 2024, another batch of military equipment was handed over to the Armed Forces General Chiefs of Staff for use, consisting of 75 vehicles, this APC ambulance, 20 M53 vehicles, 20 SATCO vehicles, 20 tank vehicles, 4 armor car title vehicles, 2 low armored type vehicles, 2 APC type vehicles. Even this. In June 2024, a large consignment of military and engineering equipment was acquired for the FDS, which is engaged in the war on terrorism. These include IED-proof armored fighting vehicles, ammunition and military engineering equipment, including excavators, truck carriers and tankers. So I'm symbolically handing you the keys to these machines. It's all part of the 2024 Strategic Equipment Plan, so please make good use of it. Develop women's roles in war. If you're missing something, come back to me and I'll go back to the people. What has been acquired? In any case, perhaps the elders will say so. It's never old in this army. The Air Force, long grounded, is about to take off under the leadership of the Supreme Commander of the National Armed Forces, Captain Ibrahim TRAORE. Mastery and control of the skies are essential to victory over the terrorist Hydra, and to building a strong, resilient army. The acquisition of helicopters for troop transport and humanitarian operations, as well as reconnaissance aircraft, combat helicopters and strike drones in March 2023, are all part of this vision. The state also acquired a large number of airborne vehicles, including a dozen UAVs, mainly Bayraktar TB2s and Quincy Bayraktar UAVs, thereby expanding the fleet, which can now intervene at very short notice and provide permanent surveillance of the national territory. Since President Sarkozy's succession to power, the LRAEU has featured prominently in the Armed Forces Equipment Plan. We have received combat aircraft. We've received new intelligence aircraft, we've received maneuvering aircraft, and we've received new vectors in virtually every combat range, enabling us to meet our needs. Populations and the fight against terrorism. And to implement these resources, we have also benefited from the opening of new air bases, which give us greater flexibility in the field and enable us to be closer to the people. These areas of operations give us greater capacity to meet the needs and expectations of an Air Force in the field. And to put all this into practice, we had to be reinforced in terms of manpower, and this was also taken into account through resolute recruitment of those essentially trained abroad. We lacked the necessary manpower. With the President's leadership, we have the capacity to train our elements on site here, through the creation of our Air Force schools. Some of these schools are already operational, while others are in the process of being set up. But this gives us a real capacity to provide training that meets our needs. Training that enables us to have men with the skills we really need on the ground here, and no equipment has also enabled us to significantly strengthen. National Gendarmerie and National Police Units. Today, these internal security forces have the resources they need to fully play their role in defending and securing the national territory. Over the 2 years in question, from October 2022 to October 2024, the Gendarmerie has benefited from 2 ordinary recruitments. And also special recruitment. The last one was for 3,000 people, increasing the number of gendarmes. Logistics. We also benefited from resources. which can be estimated at over 200 rolling stock, all categories combined. We have a budget for maintenance and upkeep. We've also been allocated a budget of 1.5 billion euros for spare parts. Before, we had vehicles that had to be pushed to start up. Today, as I speak, when you see a gendarmerie vehicle, it's a really nice one. That's all there is to it. So these are resources and acquisitions that enable the gendarmerie to work efficiently in terms of infrastructure. We have benefited from a budget of around 11 billion CFA francs to build infrastructures that we didn't have before. But also the rehabilitation of existing infrastructure, which was therefore in a state of disrepair. Most of the gendarmerie brigades were on. I built them in the open air, and they operated on a free-wing basis with no fences. Only trees could delimit the space devoted to the brigades. Today, we'd like to thank the authorities for making this a priority, by fencing off almost all the gendarmerie brigades. Every policeman answered the president's call to duty. The entire institution has responded to the call of the fatherland and, along with all the other components of the defense and security forces, has shown its belief by committing itself to all theaters of operation. The results speak for themselves. Dozens of intervention units in Gumi have been created as part of our contribution to the fight against terrorism. And all these units are deployed throughout the country in the place of other forms of voluntary defense and security for the defense of the homeland. There are also the refoundation of the National Police Intervention Unit, which you know is an elite unit that has been transformed into a group. There's also the creation of the National Police Operations Center. In terms of recruitment, thousands of police officers have been recruited since the arrival of Captain Ibrahim TRAORE. In 2 years, we've seen the recruitment of over 4,000 police officers, so that's a record figure. A lot of infrastructure has been built and others rehabilitated since the captain's arrival. Ibrahim TRAORE. In terms of training, there has been a vast reinforcement of police skills through different types of training, intensive training and specialized training. There was a time when there were quarrels over certain considerations concerning the police. With the arrival of Captain Ibrahim TRAORE, all that disappeared. We witnessed a strengthening, a tightening of the letter of the ranks. The police force made believe with all the opposing defense and security forces with volunteers for the defense of the homeland. People evolve in a unity of action, and it's really in a fraternity of arms that things happen in the field. After 2 years, the logistics acquired by the police in the fight against terrorism are quite impressive. Some people thought that the police were not entitled to a certain type of weapon, i.e. the PO was deployed, but without the necessary means to ensure neither their own defense, nor the defense of the populations. We had to wait until the arrival of Captain Ibrahim TRAORE to break all the ribs, so that all these considerations fell away. And today, I can tell you that the National Police Force has practically every category of weapon. Many weapons have been acquired, both individual and collective. A lot of equipment has been acquired. Personal protective equipment and collective protective equipment have been introduced, including drones. Detectors are new means of communication and equipment acquired for operational field use, including armor plating, semi-armor plating, tricycle lightning vehicles, and motorcycles. This is a revolution, not just a change. The BNSP National Fire Department will also be strengthened and organized to make its contribution to reclaiming the territory. The fire department's combat units then traded in their characteristic tunics to join forces with other Army Corps in the fight against the terrorist Hydra, embodying its slogan "Save or Perish" in the name of the nation. Since the crisis our country has been experiencing, units of the National Fire Department have contributed to the return of peace and the reconquest of certain localities in some parts of the country. The resources available to the National Fire Department are the same as those available to the National Armed Forces in general, so all our personnel engaged in the theater of operations, whether in a 100% brigade staffed unit or within other combat unit structures, benefit from support and backup. Services supplying national armed forces have been positive. A significant leap forward in terms of capacity, not only in terms of intervention capability, but also in terms of human resources. There has been a substantial increase in manpower at brigade level, both to cope with the operational defense of the territory as part of the reconquest of the national territory, but also to cope with our public services in terms of rescue and firefighting. Since 2023-2024, we have benefited from the creation of specific units and units within the brigade. We have also benefited from the opening and operationalization of fire and rescue companies in towns, particularly in the administrative regional capitals, where there were no fire stations. These are major efforts that have been made to bring emergency services closer to the people. Then there's the adaptation of the system, and this adaptation of the system.
Thank you, families, for listening. The man is serious. Yes, after 3 months, he started collecting and buying all these ammunitions. Remember when he went to Russia, Turkey, they are all helping him. You know, the army, they are happy. If they are not, that money, billions of CFA that they gave to them, they would take it and leave him and throw him under the bus. But they said, no, he is doing wonders in the military. He's helping the VDPs, those who volunteer for free. According to them, they volunteer. They were not expecting anything. Even them, he's paying them. He said they should have something that they can give to their families that they left back home so they will not be hungry. Their children will not be hungry. You don't like this. What do you want? Nothing. They are recruiting more as well. I'll be back with another news. They are happy. This is the testimony of what he's doing. I will leave you here, families. God bless you all. Please share it, like the video. You know, those who are saying military is not good, the military is the only way to quench this fire that is burning in the Sahel. So the three countries will work together and quench it. And this is how they are working. Those with technical know-how, everything has been there for years and years, and they couldn't do anything. They said they were helping, but they couldn't do it. This is how they would do it. Thank you, families. I end my case here. Credit to our TV, Faso 7, my new and returning family members. I appreciate you. All my VIPs, my kings and queens. Yes, my members, channel members. I appreciate you. Those who have been super chatting me, God bless you all. God bless you. May your pocket never run out. Yes, God bless you all. I appreciate you. Your time is also important. I will see you soon, families. Bye bye.